If you were to come up with the most important parts of horror movies, what would you say? Atmosphere? Makeup? Music? Towards the bottom of the list would probably be the characters. And sure, many horror flicks treat their characters like Amazon treats their employees, but there are others that use their characters to make the scares and the drama hit harder. Here's a list of the best horror movie characters for every year, 2000 to 2024. And yes, I'm including horror comedies. Here we go. 2000, Patrick Bateman, American Psycho. If only I felt cozy counting Battle Royale as horror, because a character as interesting and broken as Mitsuko Soma deserves a breakdown. But since we're counting horror comedies today, I mean, come on, like Patrick Bateman is a no-brainer. I implore anyone who likes this movie to read up trivia about it. There's some really crazy stuff. The fact that Christian Bale got dropped from the project yet kept prepping for it, or how he based his performance on Tom Cruise on David Letterman. The performance is phenomenal, and one of the reasons it's so praiseworthy is because it's so difficult. Bateman is a man of contradictions. He claims to have zero emotional attachments, yet spares a young woman out of genuine concern. He acts cocky and confident, yet desperately wants to fit in. He's a ruthless murderer, yet everyone sees him as interchangeable. What does Bateman actually enjoy? Are the murders even real? It's a person that is always putting on an act, even to himself. And the one consistency is that he's unforgettable.
I like to dissect girls. Did you know I'm utterly insane?
Great tan, Marcus. I mean, really impressive. Where do you tan?
Salon.
I've got a tanning bed at home. You should look into it.
2001, Mason Verger, Hannibal. Yeah, I'd consider Hannibal at least in the horror ballpark, considering the amount of violence and gore and brain saute. And while not a great film, every scene with Mason makes you sit up straighter in your chair. He's a surviving victim of Hannibal Lecter and was intensely disfigured, and so lives as a total recluse. Yet at the same time, he is wealthy and still commands much influence. And I love that they didn't hold back on his injuries. I mean, he looks rough. He is bitterness personified, and you understand how badly he wants his revenge, not just from his plan, but from the performance. That's Gary Oldman under all that makeup, and he gives Mason so much hatred and authority in every line he delivers. Visually and in script, Mason Verger is captivating, and you can't wait to see him and Hannibal Lecter in the same room. That is the money shot. 2002, May Kennedy, May. Yes, I will mention this movie as much as I can. It's great. There's a lot going on with tone, but the central character and the dedicated performance from Angela Bettis keeps it all nice and snug together. We watch her move from antisocial observer to hopeless romantic to a violent psycho, and not a step feels unwarranted. It's one of the few movies I've seen about this kind of character where I still felt a little bad for her, even after all the horrific things she's done. The film makes the right call by focusing entirely on her, even her point of view, so we watch her obsessions flare in real time. She's a bomb about to go off. While it's thrilling to watch this play out, especially as she gains that confidence in the third act, it's also incredibly sad. May Kennedy may be the most underrated character in a horror film. You gotta see this one.
Okay, well, what time? I'll wait.
Don't do that.
No, it's okay. I'll wait.
I gotta go, man.
Okay. Well, I'll talk to you tomorrow then.
Goodbye, man.
2003, Bai Su-mi, Tale of Two Sisters. Bai Su-mi is such a well-rounded person. A giddy young girl, but also fiercely protective and even spiteful when the stepmother enters the mix. She could have been a solid older sister character, passionately rebelling against what she and what we see as a venomous figure. As the film goes on, she not only becomes more complex, but so much more tragic. It's not just why she's in this position, but how she reconciles with it. Great film, great character. 2004, Shaun, Shaun of the Dead. Quick, who's a fictional character, movies or television, that you would have a beer with? I'm sure some of mine cross streams with some of yours. Homer Simpson, Tyler Durden, John McClane, Gina Linetti, William Wallace, but I actually had to stop and think if any horror characters made the shortlist. After all, that's usually not the vibe. The entire town from the Irish horror comedy Grabbers would certainly do, but a name that jumped out first was Shaun from this 2004 classic. And the fact that he's so suitable as a drinking buddy is directly tied to his story arc. What if that's your biggest achievement? Your one thing to offer the world? What do such people do when they get home? Better yet, what happens when they have to rise up and actually be the hero? Through all the shenanigans and cricket practice, Shaun realizes that he has to be the adult in the room, and that can be more shocking than a zombie apocalypse. We've all felt like Shaun at some point in our life, aimless, sedate, a failure, and the realism through which Shaun moves out of that hole makes it all the more gratifying.
Why have we got to go to Lizzie's?
Because we do.
She dumped you.
I have to know if she's all right.
Why?
Because I love her.
All right, gay.
2005, Mick Taylor, Wolf Creek. I forget who it was, but someone said that Mick Taylor is so terrifying because he speaks the exact same way whether he's chatting with people around a fire or cutting them to pieces. I think that pretty much nails it. Sure, he's physically imposing, but everyone sees him as some uneducated redneck. His clothing, his way of speaking, all of it feeds into this profiling. Then you see the monster within, and you expect some kind of twist that he's secretly an evil, hyper-intelligent psycho. And yeah, he's certainly sadistic, but he's still the same loud, goofy guy. He enjoys it. He sees people as pigs. As gory and brutal as the film is, much of it feels plausible, and Mick Taylor feels probable. 2006, Jean-Baptiste, Perfume, the Story of a Murderer. He's a young man who no one wanted even from birth. He also has an extremely potent sense of smell. This is how he perceives things, and it's also a dream that he chases as he tries to create a perfume that can ensnare the world. He's such an intriguing character, I really just need to sit my ass down and do a video essay about him. Obsession, nostalgia, psychopathy, chemistry, discovery, loneliness. There's a lot going on with a man who barely talks. Being in his head is a surreal experience. And how crazy is it that the same actor plays Q from the 007 films and Paddington Bear? 2007, Marlowe, 30 Days of Night. It's always fun in a movie when you have a preconceived notion of something and then it's shattered. For 30 Days of Night, the vampires are less Lestat, less twinkly idiots pining for a mouth breather with no personality, and more like animals. These vampires are fast and ferocious, and while they do seem somewhat organized, they don't seem far above wolves as far as intelligence. Then Marlowe shows up in a leadership role, commanding them like troops and even speaking with the express purpose of torturing his prey. It's here you realize how screwed our heroes are. It's worth noting that Marlowe is scary. The black eyes seem larger and hollower than the others, and the actor utilizes his movements well to convey an evolved predator. You can't stop watching this guy. He's the best part of the film. Also, if you're interested in villains in general, definitely check out this video essay by Vicious TNT. Link is below. It's an awesome watch.
Noga.
2008, Eli, Let the Right One In. A classic Swedish vampire drama, Let the Right One In has plenty of good characters. I chose Eli because she's really the one driving everything. Murders occur for her. A bullied boy commits violence through her encouragement. You feel like the whole town is about to get thrown into chaos just by her residing in it. And then you look at her and you see a tiny girl with a soft voice and the largest eyes on planet Earth. It's such great contrast to see someone so meek-looking and so kind-hearted be the catalyst for this much bloodshed. And when she has something to fight for, something to protect, hoo boy, best lifeguard ever. 2009, Esther, Orphan. Intelligence in the wrong hands is scary. Esther may look like she can't bench press a pool noodle between two balloons, but her manipulative behavior keeps her a step ahead of everyone. It's creepy to see someone look so young flick some internal light switch and show a lifetime of harsh coldness. And it's entertaining, watching all the sneaky, underhanded ways she gets what she wants. Plus, if she does something horrible, she didn't mean to. She's just a young girl. She didn't know any better. This is also known as the sniper wolf effect. And sure, it's less impressive considering these foster parents are the stupidest foster parents in history, but she's still an awesome villain that holds this entire thing together.
What's wrong with you?
Kate, it's too late. It's your own fault. You took your family for granted.
What do you mean?
What are you going to do? Hit me?
2010, Nina Sayers' Black Swan. Yes, Natalie Portman was amazing and deserved all the accolades she got, but Nina Sayers is a gift for a gifted actor. The entire story is this central arc, from quiet, docile, and repressed girl to lustful, violent woman, and it's a very fun, sexy, and suspenseful journey to follow. Pressure creates change, and Black Swan does a great job showing the pressure on Nina from all sides. Similar to May, Black Swan puts us in the mind of its protagonist from start to finish, and it feels like we're succumbing to this pressure too, and we're slowly going mad. Having Nina be a ballet dancer is perfect, since it requires so much physically from the person, and combined with someone as obsessive as Nina, we get an absolute catastrophe waiting to happen. 2011, Jay, Kill List. Jay is interesting because we can never quite have a handle on him, and once we do, he begins the shift. He is a family man, but also a bit aggressive and moody. He also finds a dead animal in his yard and cooks it for breakfast, RFK Jr. style. Then we see his exploits as a hitman, and we are both entertained and horrified about how brutal he is with violence and casual he is when chatting with his buddy. Then that infection starts, and then he meets the world's most unhelpful doctor, and by the end, you can't tell whether he has chosen to turn into this renegade or if it's been chosen for him. If what I said sounds confusing, well, it is. But it isn't random. The progression is there, the hints are there, and Jay himself seems so genuine in all of these modes, it makes him a really engaging watch. 2012, Lily from the Amateur Night segment in VHS. VHS, like all horror anthologies, is a mixed bag. Its highs are like looking at Jennifer Lopez, and its lows are like spending any time with Jennifer Lopez. I'm willing to say that Amateur Night is, without a doubt, the best and the most terrifying of all the segments in this entire series. A big reason for that is Lily, the unseemly girl who our characters meet at a bar and tags along. Alarm bells start ringing instantly. She's just off. The giant eyes that don't seem to blink, how she follows the protagonist from every corner. The simple phrase, "I like you," is naturally nice, but when said over and over like this, it becomes horrifying. I won't spoil where the story goes, but I will say that the scenes that threaten violence the least are what scared me the most. "2013, The Female Under the Skin." This is a journey of self-discovery, which is a huge cliche, but Under the Skin does so much with that sentence. What we have is a being of some kind, likely an alien, that seduces and sacrifices men. Over the course of the film, she observes humanity as if in a lab, growing more curious at our actions and emotions, and eventually becomes sympathetic to our species. This is treated with patience and sensitivity. And look, the movie isn't for everyone. It's slow and it doesn't offer clear explanations. But that is exactly why I found it terrifying. It's not that she's ruthless, it's that she treats us like canned meat for the stovetop. 2014, Amelia Vanek, The Babadook. Beautifully acted and written, Amelia is someone you can't help but feel bad for given her miserable situation. There is an uncomfortable truth to this movie at its core, that sometimes mothers hate their kids, hate the crying, the screaming, hate the 24/7 exhaustion, and the Babadook fuses this with supernatural horror. This could have been a standard possession movie, but Amelia's frustrations, stress, and unraveling elevate it and give that horror a realistic edge. 2015, Pat, Green Room. The Atticus Institute was an option, as was the mighty voice of Ralph Ineson. But I gotta go with Green Room, which I do consider horror specifically because every act of violence in this thing made me curl a little bit into a ball. I'm talking a lot about arcs in this video, and Pat's is probably the most badass on this list. I'd like to think there's a little Pat in all of us, terrified, and for very good reason, of this Nazi gang who cannot wait to maim us, and then summoning up the courage to go full Rambo. It's not courage that comes from wanting to look cool, to wink at the camera. It comes from necessity. It comes with a little bit of fear still there, and that makes it cool as hell. 2016, Kevin Wendelcrum, Split. I've mentioned this before, but 2016 is at least a contender for the best year in this genre.
Nice.
And as far as characters go, I mean, come on, like, it's pretty hard to top the guy with multiple personalities. Each personality is distinct and fun to watch, and it's smart writing to have 3 of them be the main conspirators. Seeing each one get introduced, providing their own sense of threat to overcome, is nothing short of joyous. And every second of Hedwig with his dancing and his red thoughts makes this a must-see.
I'm confused. You said it was near a window.
Oh, that's here. What? Now it's closed. Now it's open. Now it's closed. Now it's open.
"2017, Martin, The Killing of a Sacred Deer." Yes, there's Pennywise from It, although I still think that dance is just so dumb. But I gotta go with Martin. He is a very creepy person, someone who puts a curse on a man he feels wronged him, and does so very matter-of-factly and with no pleasure or remorse. It's like he's giving out a parking ticket. The performance strikes the perfect, casually eerie tone. I won't go into detail about the curse or his relationship with the protagonist. Instead, I'll just say that he touched upon a deeper horror than most. That being a sloppy meal of spaghetti in a living room while wearing a white shirt. I'm sorry, but that hits way harder than any bleached William Shatner mask.
One more thing, I'm really sorry about Bob.
It's nothing serious.
No, it is. That critical moment we both knew would come someday. Here it is. That time is now. You know what I mean.
2018, Annie Graham, Hereditary. Duh, you knew this was going to be here. Obviously, the performance is incredible. It's the writing that should be highlighted as well, showcasing the ugly side of grief, the bitter hatred, the unstoppable howling. It's intense even before the supernatural stuff arrives. I believe that every great performance owes some of it to the screenplay, but maybe owes is the wrong word. Annie Graham doesn't feel like an owing, it's more like a giving. Script and performance meshing together perfectly to create something amazing. 2019, Thomas Wake, The Lighthouse. I am very much a fan of this man's Lobster, and if you saw this movie, even if you didn't like it, you can hopefully acknowledge that this verbose beast of a sea captain managed to make a seafood argument that epic. I have a thing with sea shanties. It's the only joy I got out of Sea of Thieves. Thomas Wake is bursting with shanties and curses and lore, and it's just such a blast to watch a guy so ingrained in his environment. He is the embodiment of that culture and proud of it. And I love seeing someone this absurdly entertaining that is still believable as someone who could actually exist. The Lighthouse is a strange, slow boiler, but if you want to see Willem Dafoe as a surly sea captain and completely own it, you should watch this one. 2020, John Marshall, The Wolf of Snow Hollow. Oh man, I wish The Hunt had more horror and less Hilary Swank being a shitty villain, so I could include the awesome protagonist from that movie. But including horror comedies means that, yay, I get to mention The Wolf of Snow Hollow. Just watch it. Really, like, this is a writing class on how to make someone deeply flawed, yet still someone to root for. I'm not saying anything else, just put the thing on.
Take out all the spooky books in a library? Maybe don't sneak up on them.
I'm sorry, John.
No, it's fine. Thank you for doing that. But had that been another member of my team, what you just pulled right there, that could have ended in a shooting.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, and that would have been lights out for Ray.
2021, The Grabber, The Black Phone. This is such a freakish bad guy, and honestly, I'm not sure which side of him is the most scary. When he's sitting in the kitchen, bare-chested with a belt? When he's laughing in a kind of disoriented way before kidnapping the kid? Or when he's quietly sitting in the basement, watching his victim? Seeing all these emotional, and with the mask, physical sides to him keep adding layers upon layers to his psychosis. Despite the ghost elements in the movie, his character feels too real, and the speed in which he kidnaps is probably not far from reality. That's not just scary, but pretty depressing. Maybe we should move on to something lighter, like our next pick, which is like Gordon Ramsay if he were allowed to kill his contestants. 2022, Jeff Slowick, The Menu. I didn't love The Menu as much as others. Nicholas Hoult was bad, the ending sucks, and some of the characters are as subtle as a frying pan to the temple. And yet, the editing was good, the music was good, and Chef Slowick, played by Ralph Fiennes, was a sublime villain. His dishes act as a satire of the very people eating them, and when the dinner moves from odd to uncomfortable to out of line and then to dangerous, the chef retains a sense of poise. Not until the climax does he break from this. He doesn't become a babbling, shouty sort of bad guy, he's a pro, through and through, and this makes him menacing. You can't predict his next move, you can't reason with him, and the entire time, he's making it seem like you should be thanking him. A solid villain. Although, is he any worse than most landlords?
Even when all goes right and the food is perfect, and the customers are happy and the critics are too, there is no way to avoid the mess. The mess you make of your life, of your body, of your sanity.
2023, Ellie, Evil Dead Rise. Oh, fuck this, no. She is straight up terrifying. Dear God in heaven, I have nothing else to say. Pure hell. And 2024, The Demon, Strange Darling. Two things real quick. One, Kyle Gallagher is one to watch. A versatile and fierce actor, and please watch Dinner in America. It's a punk romance that's actually punk and romantic. And two, despite all the blood, the most upsetting thing about the movie is someone using an entire stick of butter to cook a few eggs. Ugh. Back on track, you could argue that the demon doesn't have as much depth as his female counterpart, but it's his rage, the actor's commitment to that rage, that's so disturbing. I bought every second of this character, and everything he did stemmed from something animalistic. Even when he's playing little games like come out and play, he isn't even being coy about it, he's just pissed. He's a hunter that needs the kill, and any delay is infuriating. You feel an immediate danger anytime he's in a scene. I want to be very clear that a horror character doesn't have to have a million levels to them. If you want to focus on a certain aspect, an emotion, a gimmick, go for it. Just make it count. Well, that wraps it up. I'd love to know any I missed. Subscribe and check out the Discord and community tab for updates on when I live stream. And as always, thanks for watching.